Every time I stop someone, I plan on arresting them. Now, after
she's got a passport, you know.
Derek, can you give me a break?
Yeah, I'm just trying to talk to you, man. I'm sorry, because I deal with a lot of cops. I'm an activist. That's why I have this camera here, because I deal with...
You know what I'm saying? We can do it the easy way or the hard way.
We all know that police officers love to abuse their power. But what happens when they mess with innocent people for their own pleasure? Here are 4 insane examples of dirty cops harassing random people on the road. Starting off, these officers pulled a man over for a reason that made 0 sense: an out-of-state license plate. The crux of the matter lies in the fact that merely having a license plate from a different state doesn't provide any valid grounds for suspecting a crime or a traffic violation. This fundamental point highlights that the traffic stop conducted lacks legal justification and is essentially not in accordance with the law.
How you doing, sir?
Doing well. Texas Highway Patrol. Hey, reason for the stop, we just noticed you have the out-of-state plates. Wondering what your business here in the state of Texas is. Specifically along this route and everything.
Yeah, okay.
Can you roll down your window, please?
Oh, no, that's fine right there.
Okay, alright.
Yeah.
What's your business here?
So what does that have to do with the, what did you just stop me for?
So it's a reasonable suspicion stop, right, based on the common smuggling route.
Okay.
And the out-of-state plates.
Yeah, but what's the crime, though?
I'm sorry?
What's the crime?
The funny thing here is that one of the officers actually admits the obvious without knowing that no crime was committed. So the officers realize the man knows his stuff and are left with no option but to let him drive off without any consequences.
There's not been a crime.
Okay, so then I'm free to go. Am I detained?
It's a reasonable suspicion stop.
Yeah, but you need to have a probable cause if you're going to detain me. Am I detained or am I free to go?
You're free to go.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Right there.
Yep, thank you.
These officers didn't have a reason to detain the man. But what happens when an officer stops you with the intent to get you arrested without any reason? Officers are allowed to arrest people only if there's something they did that is unlawful. However, this cop always stops people with the intent to arrest them regardless. The reason for this stop was insane. The woman was apparently following too closely. I mean, that's worth a ticket, but not an arrest. Take a look at this nonsense.
Get a new one, so I don't have a license right now. I do have a passport as identification, but I'm waiting to get my license in the mail.
Can I talk?
Yes.
You're under arrest. Get out of the car. You're not having that.
Hey, before you go to ask him what's going on.
Go to the rear of the car, please. Go to the rear of the car, please. Stay in the car, please.
I'm just filming you for our safety. I'm just filming you for our safety.
Stay in the car.
I'll stay in the car, but I'm filming you.
And that is making me a lot more comfortable. So can you please stay there with the camera?
You guys have a record for assaulting people, so I'm just making sure everybody's safe. HPD does.
The man is recording the situation, but at least the officer didn't tell him to stop, which is honestly surprising. However, what he does next makes up for it.
She's not driving with a suspended license. That's not an automatic arrest. You just give her a ticket for not having a license. She has a current license, it's just not here, sir. I've been arrested for driving with a suspended license. She has a license, it's not suspended. You just need to go run that. You can't arrest somebody for not having a license on them.
According to the transportation code, she can be booked on those charges. In addition, she will be booked on the speeding since she's going to go to jail for the following too close.
Following too close is also a ticketable offense. Those are not arrestable offenses. If you arrest her, they'll get thrown out in court. I'm just telling you, sir.
Can you cite the law that says that I could be arrested for that, please?
It's in the transportation code.
What code?
Transportation code.
So it's a code, not a law?
No, the transportation code is the state driving law.
It's a traffic violation, but you can't. Traffic violations aren't arrestable offenses, sir.
Well,
I'm not trying to tell you out of your job. I'm just saying I've been arrested a few times, and I know that one of the only arrestable offenses is for driving with a suspended license.
That's incorrect.
So the officer is living up to his promises. He wants to place that woman in handcuffs no matter what. Also, we hear him claiming that she was driving without a license, even though her license was valid. A bunch of nonsense. The man recording even says that he's been arrested multiple times, but never because of such a ridiculous reason, to which the officer responds arrogantly. Now, it's time for the most bizarre point of the encounter. Let's hear what the officer's got to say.
I don't know who
I said one of the, I don't know all of them, but I know that is one of the only. I feel like she was rude to you in the beginning, and that kind of got us on the wrong foot, man.
Well, no, sir, that's not.
But were you really planning on arresting her for following you close behind her car?
Absolutely. Every time I stop someone, I plan on arresting them. Now, after I find out...
That's not your job, though, sir. Your job is to protect and defend the community. Does she look like a criminal to you? You're really going to waste your time on this over some other people committing victim crimes? We're headed towards a spiritual meditation event, a prayer event.
I tell you what.
The only explanation for this officer's behavior is that this was a power trip, or boredom, but probably a power trip. Remember how we said he doesn't mind the man recording? Well, apparently, he now becomes the epicenter of the problem, as the officers begins questioning him, leaving the female driver on hold.
I don't know you. I've never met you. I don't know you, sir. I never met you.
That's fine.
Are you willing to identify yourself?
Perfectly, I'm willing to identify. I have nothing to hide, man.
No, sir, are you willing to identify yourself?
Yes.
Okay, what is your name?
My name is Derek.
Derek what, sir?
Is there a reason that I'm being questioned?
No, I'm just, well, you're photographing me. I'd like to know who's photographing me.
You're in a public place. This is
I understand that, but I'm carrying on a conversation with you. I'm asking you.
Well, at this level, we're only on a first name basis. My name is Derek.
Derek. Okay.
Officer Perez.
Okay, Derek.
I'm not failing to ID myself, by the way.
I understand that. I understand that.
My birthday is 12/184, so don't try to arrest me for failing to ID myself or any kind of things.
I'm not going to arrest you. You're not under arrest.
Well, I'm just saying. You just said you just told us that every single time you pull somebody over, you plan to arrest them, and that is you on your job making a presumption that there's an arrestable offense. So you're assuming that as soon as you pull somebody over, there will be something worth arresting. That's not what your job is, sir. And we are concerned citizens. I do know what your job is because you took an oath to the Constitution not to bother people for victimless crimes. And I'm just talking man to man, human to human. This is a victimless crime. There was no victim in there, right? She followed too close. Let's give her a ticket. She'll go to court. She'll have to pay a bunch of money, and she'll feel stupid about it. But I mean, are you really gonna f up our day by arresting her? I mean, that's
okay. There's no need for that language. I'll tell you what.
I'm just saying, man. Like,
okay, so now it's clear that all of the sudden, after all these events that were already recorded, the officer doesn't like being recorded anymore. So he tries to make a deal with the passenger. He stops recording, and in favor, the female driver is not arrested. Let's see how the deal plays out, though.
Derek, are we on a first name basis, Derek?
Yes.
Turn your camera off, and we'll go ahead and write her some tickets. Does that sound reasonable?
I don't feel safe turning my camera off.
Okay, sir. Then we'll continue.
You're gonna arrest her if I don't turn the camera off.
No, I'm not. I didn't say that. I'm just asking you if you want to call it a day.
I do want to call it a day. I would love for my friend to be able to sit back in the car to take the tickets you have, for you to get your quota, and for us to go on with our lives.
Derek, let me ask this young lady. What's your name again?
Brianna.
Brianna, are you going to sign the ticket when I bring it over here?
And if I understand what that means.
Yes, Brianna, just say yes. That's all that means, that you're going to go to court.
It becomes clear that the officer is losing his unlawful game here, and he's clearly annoyed with that. The driver and the passenger simply aren't obeying his orders, and rightfully so, as not one thing he said was according to law, so they were perfectly allowed to do everything they did. But then, officer changes his mind and decides to handle the situation in a bit more fair way, which surprises the two sitting in the car.
Support and speak my truth about the situation. Yes, I will sign.
If I can establish your identity, I'm not going to book you.
We'll take it to trial, and then you can just show up and we can talk then.
You make sense.
No, I'm just saying, like, that we could do that, and you can come back.
If I can establish your identity.
She's got a passport, you know.
Derek, can you give me a break?
Yeah, I'm just trying to talk to you, man. I'm sorry, because I deal with a lot of cops. I'm an activist. That's why I have this camera here, because I deal with cops.
And I believe you're an activist, and I respect your constitutional rights to voice your opinion.
Well, thank you, sir. I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to do so.
And so what I'm going to do, I'm going to establish her identity. I'm going to write her the ticket. You've already said you're going to sign my ticket machine when I give it to you. Is that correct?
That agrees that this experience just happened.
That just agrees to go to court. That's all it is.
It's going to be a promise to go. Thank you, Derek. It's a promise to go to court. You're going to sign my machine that says I promise to come to court. I didn't hear you.
Is that okay?
Okay. I'll be right back then.
You need my ID?
You can have a seat, and you don't have any weapons in the car, do you?
No, sir.
After a brief wait, the officer came back, holding a ticket writer in hand. He proceeded to give the necessary tickets to the female driver as required. However, something peculiar occurred during this interaction. The officer's demeanor shifted dramatically, and he began speaking in a composed and peaceful manner. He clarified that he hadn't intended to create any trouble. In ordinary circumstances, this turn of events might have been acceptable, but there was an underlying issue that couldn't be ignored. The officer's initial actions had already revealed his intentions, and his subsequent attempts to downplay the situation couldn't erase that fact. What the cop had tried to do was blatantly obvious, and his efforts to conceal it were futile.
Okay. And I really would like to apologize to you for the way that I spoke to you at first. I was a bit filled up with fear, and it was an emotional reaction.
Well, your friend explained to me that he's had negative experience with police, right. And you know, I support I support your people's right to demonstrate and to voice their opinion, and sometimes it's just human nature that everybody wants to stereotype people and say, well, this class of people are always going to be this way. And sometimes we come up with a perception by not even knowing the person, but just by the way they look or the way they talk. Right. We think they're a certain way. Just like I could have made the negative perception with this gentleman here because of his tattoos and everything else like that, and the way he braids his hair, but I didn't. You know, you know, just because you don't look the same as I do doesn't mean you don't have the same value that I do. You're free to go.
Thank you very much.
Have a good day, sir.
Thank you.
It's just funny how the officer completely shifts the tone of the conversation, going from a tyrant to somewhat reasonable. If he was a real one, though, he wouldn't have given them a ticket as an apology. Now, if you thought these two's rights were violated, wait till you see this next encounter. While some cops respect the traffic laws, some don't. And this officer clearly doesn't care about the smallest thing a regular civilian would be punished for. What happened here is that a man noticed an officer on a motorcycle with his lights turned off. But the situation gets a little messy. Take a look.
Hey! Your lights aren't on. What's that? Your headlights aren't on, man. Hey, just pull over right up here and come chat with me, all right, man? Just pull up right over here. You can't just be driving around without headlights on. No big deal, just come on, pull over and let's get some ID. Hey, we can do this the easy way or the hard way. You know what I'm saying? We can do it the easy way or the hard way. All right, man, appreciate it. You can just turn it off for me and I can get some ID? Why not? That's what happens when you drive with your headlights off, man. I gotta check you for ID. Hey, we need to do a few tests. Just want to do a field sobriety test. Not a big deal, man. Not a big deal. Let's just make this easy for everybody. I'm just doing my job, you know? I didn't ask you to drive around with your headlights off. You did that.
The individual who raised the questions mirrored the inquiries often made by police officers following a traffic stop for driving without headlights at night. Surprisingly, the officer didn't delay and promptly brought the vehicle to a stop on the roadside, announcing that a supervisor was en route to the scene. This moment serves as a significant point of emphasis, underlining that this seemingly peaceful disagreement serves a larger purpose: to illuminate instances where regulations that commonly bind regular citizens are sometimes brushed aside by those enforcing the law as if they are exceptions to it.
All right, appreciate it. We can just get ID, have your sarge come out, do a field sobriety test, and we'll be on our way. Is your sarge coming, or?
Supervisor is en route.
He is en route? All right. Well, I appreciate you shutting off the bike for me.
No, I'm not doing this for you, buddy.
Oh, yeah? Who are you doing it for? You understand how dangerous that is, though, right?
Okay.
Be driving around with your headlights off? You realize we barely saw you until the last second. Guy behind you could have plowed into you. You got no taillights, no headlights, no nothing. You understand that, right? You understand how dangerous of a situation you create on our roads when you do that, right? Hey, it's not a big deal. We all make mistakes, man. We all make mistakes. We just need to get you tested, make sure you're good to drive for the night, and you'll be on your way. You know what I mean? Is that all right?
Finally, the supervisor arrived and had a little chat with the man. As they talk, the man tries to suggest that the officer on the motorcycle might be under the influence of alcohol. Let's see how things play out.
How's it going, Sarge? We can step over here on the sidewalk. Hey, you can step on the sidewalk for your safety, man. You can step on the sidewalk for your safety, man. How you doing, Sergeant? I'm James. Have we? Where did we meet at? What's your name again? Sergeant Stone. Good to see you. Were you wearing a mask the last time I saw you?
Possibly.
Okay.
Sure
Because I have a hard time, I don't recognize people when they were wearing their masks. No big deal. He's driving down the road, no headlights at all. He's got no taillights, no headlights, no markings at all on his bike. And he's driving in traffic. We didn't spot him till the last second. And there's a lot of traffic out here. It's pretty busy. And besides that, we've got drunk drivers out here who aren't paying attention in the first place. And he's rolling around with no markers whatsoever. So I asked him to stop, pull over for me, give me some ID, do some field sobriety tests. He refused and he fled. Then he called you.
So he must have just forgot to turn on his headlights.
Well, that happens. That happens. But when I asked him to pull over and give some ID, he fled the scene. So all I want to do is make sure he's sober, that he's okay to drive. Like, that's what we do on people when they're driving with headlights off, right? Because typically you got to be impaired or something's got to be wrong if you're driving with lights off. Is that right?
Not necessarily. I mean, he probably just forgot to turn them on. It was just I've been with him on a traffic stop just a little bit before, and
okay.
And he was there for a little bit, waiting for a tow truck.
Well, I don't want to take too much of your time. I know there's a lot of stuff going on out here. Can we do a quick field sobriety test on him? Can we do a quick field sobriety test on him? I mean, if he consents, then we can do it and be on our way. The viewers know that he's sober. You know he's sober. Let's just do a few tests. Okay. All right. I think that you're kind of cherry picking who you're going to do tests on and who you're not going to do them on.
I mean, he comes to work sober. I've been around him tonight.
I don't understand why you can't just do a field sobriety test.
I don't feel I need to do field sobriety test.
Okay. Well, I guess that's your discretion, isn't it?
Thank you, guys.
Okay. Have a good night. Hey, don't let me catch you doing it again, and the next time I tell you to pull over, don't flee the scene, okay, man?
Now, the cops clearly asserted their dominance again, and while the encounter might now have been necessary, it just shows how the cops don't care about the rules and think they can do whatever they please. But watch what happens when two officers meet in a traffic stop, and one asserts his dominance. You know how sometimes cops try to escape consequences by trying to use their authority? Well, this is yet another case of exactly that happening. In an unexpected twist, the individual behind the wheel turned out to be more than just an ordinary cop. In fact, he was a sheriff, vested with greater authority within the law enforcement hierarchy. However, his apparent disregard for the rules was soon brought to light when another officer from the police department spotted him driving above the speed limit. Taking action, the police officer initiated a traffic stop to address the speeding issue.
Good afternoon. I'm Officer Henry with the Wilson Police Department. The reason for the stop today is because I clocked you 37 and a 25.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Can I get your driver's license real quick, Mr. Bryant?
You really want my driver's license?
I just want to look at it.
Huh?
I'm
the sheriff. I'm not giving you my license. I'm the sheriff.
Okay.
Okay. I'm not giving you my driver's license.
Okay.
Okay.
Alrighty.
All right. I appreciate you.
Sit tight for me real quick.
Now the sheriff is doing basically the opposite of what he should be doing. As if what he's already done wasn't enough, he steps out of the vehicle and starts acting all cocky. Watch how it all plays out.
You realize I'm the sheriff of this county?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm the sheriff of this county. All right?
Okay.
You pulled me over. You made your contact. You gonna
Okay.
write me a ticket?
I mean, I wasn't going to. I was just going to make sure you had your driver's license on there.
I got my driver's license.
I was just asking to look at it, and then I was going to send you on about your day.
Okay.
That's all I was doing.
There's my driver's license.
Okay.
Okay. There's my commission card.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay. Have a good day.
This time, though, the sheriff was successful in asserting his authority, and his presence made the other officer scared, so he ended up with no choice but to let the sheriff go and leave the scene.